It's a weekend eve, the Danny and Justin radio program. Thanks for tuning in, friends. If you miss us live, you can always go back to the podcast wherever you pod at Danny and Justin, wherever you find your music is the way Justin says it to me. Because most people don't listen. Well, there is a, I won't call it a majority.
A little bit.
It's not a majority of people that listen to podcasts.
No, my point is that there's some younger people. Because when we were talking about this, we were talking to a younger person. And I was like, if you don't pod, which I know that some younger people don't, you got to get it wherever you get your music. It's just another way to tell people.
I'm trying to win them over one at a time. And if you miss us, you also are going to miss Travis Demers, the mayor of Rip City, who joins us now on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673.
He's got a podcast.
He does. It is what? Section 113.
Section 113.
I actually listened to it.
Yes.
It's a very, very well done. And we always love having Travis on. Mayor, we're not going to talk about the stuff on the court first. The trade deadline now passed, and Portland, not unexpectedly, didn't make a ton of moves, but they did make one move with Vít Krejci. And so I guess I'll ask you this right off the bat. Do you like it?
I love it. I thought it was a great deal. The trade deadline the last few years for the Blazers has pretty much gone just like this, right? I mean, there's no need to really do anything right. There's no pressure. And if a deal didn't present itself that was going to help the team, there was no point in doing it. Like there was nothing that said you've got to do something right now. So the one trade they did make, nobody wanted to see Dwight Reith go, and then he was waived by the Hawks today. Everybody loved Dwight. He's an awesome guy to have around, but he was hurt. He wasn't going to play the rest of the year. His contract was up after this year. So you trade him, and you get back a guy who can be an immediate help in areas of need. I mean, Vít Krejci is an elite three-point shooter, 42% on the year. He's a 6'8" guard who can defend and do multiple things, and he's under team control for the next few years on a minimum deal. I mean, to me, like, that's a perfect trade for if you're looking at a small trade. I don't know that there could have been a better move than that on that type of deal.
So Krejci comes in shooting 42% from beyond the arc. ESPN gave it an A-, said it was a B for Atlanta. Not really too concerned about the picks, but this doesn't relieve, or does it relieve, some of the pressure on a hobbled Deni Avdija? Because he's been missing games as of late, and 5 in January. He's less than 100% right now on this 6-game road skin that the Blazers are on. So does this? You said it's going to inject something. Is that part of it? Is offensively?
Yeah, but honestly, guys, I don't think this is a move that matters for right now. And I don't want to dismiss the current, right? Because this is where we're all living right now in the present, and the present sucks right now. 6-game losing streak. Denny's hurt. You're going the wrong way. Like, nobody wants to see that. Mm-hmm. But that's not what really matters right now. What matters is getting Deni Avdija healthy. I don't know if he's going to play again before the All-Star break. I would love to see him play again before the All-Star break because this team needs him. But what's more important is that he is healthy as the rest of the season goes. So, yeah, if we're looking at right now, does this inject some life? Well, yeah, it does, because you've got a guy immediately who comes in and is your best three-point shooter. But in the big picture, when this team continues to grow the rest of this year, next year, the year after, you've got a guy with some size, athletic ability, smart basketball player, can defend, and can knock down threes. He's a 3-and-D guy off the bench who's 6'8" and can play, 3 different positions. So while, yes, it absolutely injects something in right now, this is the kind of guy that you really need in terms of depth.
And it's funny because he didn't actually come into the league as a great three-point shooter, so he's got some of the other qualities as well that made him an NBA player, but now he is this great three-point shooter. And
he's Slavic, so I love him already. So
there
that's
you go.
All right.
And so not a lot of movement for the Blazers, this one little trade, but how much of it, Giannis is still out there, and maybe the Blazers don't end up with Giannis, but they have the $3 picks. How much do you think the lack of movement had to do with the fact that maybe the Blazers are going to be involved and want to set themselves up to be involved whenever the Giannis trade does happen?
I don't think that has anything to do with it, to be honest. I mean, they might. Last year? Yeah, last year at the trade deadline when the Blazers didn't do much. Joe Cronin said, he's like, look, in years past, we didn't do things at the trade deadline, but the foundation that we set in conversations with teams in January and February is what led to deals getting done in June. And specifically, he mentioned the Denny Avdia trade and the Jeremy Grant trade. So just because no moves were made, this week doesn't mean that those conversations haven't led to something that could happen in that next transaction window around the draft. And I didn't think Giannis was going to get traded this week anyway. There was no pressure by the teams that wanted to acquire him. The pressure was all on Milwaukee. So now in the summertime, that's a different story because Giannis is going to be on an expiring deal, and now there's pressure on everybody. But I don't think that the Blazers are looking at that and saying, okay, we're going to hold on to these Bucks picks because we want to be in a deal with the Bucks. I don't think there's any urgency whatsoever to trade those picks because if you think about it, if Milwaukee continues to try and rebuild, which is very clearly what they're doing, the 28 and 30 picks, whichever one, they have 2 picks and 2 swaps, right? Mm-hmm. Those are going to be really valuable. And if they don't use that in any trade now or even next year or even the year after that, and we get closer to the 2028 draft, and the Blazers are in a position where they feel they're one player away, now you've got some really valuable stuff in the immediate future to use as currency that other teams will not have. And that could be the difference between when they are close, making a deal to put them over the top by using some of those Bucks picks down the road. So there's no rush to use those. If anything, it's smarter in a lot of ways to hold on to them because you're not close to getting over the top. And that could be the difference between getting over the top and not. So if that makes sense, I don't think it has anything to do with the Giannis deal at all. I think the Blazers are looking at this in a situation that we are trying to make our team better to be able to compete for a championship within the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And there was nothing that was available right now that did that.
Voice of the Trailblazers, Travis Demers is with us on the Danny and Justin radio program. It's a Thursday, and a lot of guards were traded. Certainly, Chicago Bulls had no problem collecting a lot of them, including a former Blazer, Anthony Simons, who I think that, this is just my opinion, if you look back at the trade that the Blazers did to trade away Anthony Simons, I think it's aged pretty well getting a guy like Drew Holiday, who his contract's pretty large, but he's under a multi-year contract, clearly is still a valuable player, whereas now the Celtics basically got him for a guy in Vucevic who's a solid player, but it's an expiring contract. It wouldn't have been something that the Blazers would have been good for them. So do you think that trade trade away for Anthony Simons has aged well?
Yeah, I loved it at the time, and I still love it. And even if Ant had stayed with the Celtics and re-signed there and got a max deal there, even if any of that had happened, I love Ant. But Ant's role in this league is exactly what it was in Boston. A guy who's coming off the bench, who can knock down threes, make some plays, be that, spark plug, microwave type guy off the bench, and that's what he is. And what you got back, and yes, to your point, Drew Holiday is a big contract, but this team has a very manageable salary situation. And I don't think there's any issue with Drew Holiday having a big contract. And the games that he has played, of late he has struggled a little bit, especially turning the ball over, but there's a number of games early in the season and that, they don't win if he's not there. At the same time, I see what he does behind the scenes. And while Scoot has been out for the first, 51 games of this season, and hopefully his return is imminent, it sounds like it is, Scoot has been able to sit with Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard and learn from those guys and watch with those guys. And I know some people might think I'm crazy for this. I think Scoot projects as the kind of guy who's going to be the backbone of your team. And to have that tutelage from one of the best leaders in sports in Drew Holiday for 51 games, even if that was only it, to me that's worth the trade in itself. But that isn't only it.
Travis, who got better? There were a lot of teams that made moves. Several teams made multiple moves. Who got better in this trade deadline? And
I'll confusing.
Huh?
No, what were you going to say?
No, so getting better might have been setting yourself up for the possibility as well. Not necessarily wins and losses for the rest of this year, but that could factor into it. But also taking into account that, and I'm sorry I paused there, is getting better because you're looking towards the future. You're saying I'm either banking draft picks, I got rid of bad contracts, and now I'm kind of lifting the lid and being able to get better in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of teams that I think if you put it in that context, I think Memphis did a great job because they needed an overhaul. That team, while they had stars, was never going to go anywhere. So they got a lot back for Jaren Jackson Jr. And you go back to the Desmond Bane trade over the summer where they got 4 first-round picks from Orlando. They have stockpiled a boatload of picks from those 2 deals. Unfortunately, they still have Ja Morant, and nobody wants him, it sounds like. But they have a couple of young players that they want to build around. And I think while it's going to be a rough couple of years for Memphis, they have put themselves in a position to have a future. And I don't think they did before. The Jazz are surprising because of the moves that they have made to, not be a bottom feeder, which I think the expectation from everybody was that, okay, the Jazz are tearing this down. They're going to trademark it and they're going to do all this stuff and, build it back up. No, they are not. They added Jaren Jackson Jr., who I'm not a huge fan of, but a lot of people are. And that team now has so much size. You've got Keontae George, who is showing to be a really good lead guard to go along with all those front court players in length. I thought that the Clippers kind of retooling a little bit as well because, James Harden was going to be around forever. Kawhi's not going to be around forever. So you get a young guard in Darius Garland, who's been an all-star a couple of times. I think that helps their future. I think Cleveland certainly helped themselves in the short term. The Knicks really needed another defensive player off the bench, and they got Jose Alvarado. The Bulls tearing things down a bit, building for the future. I think that the one team that you kind of look at and say, hello, McFly, anybody home, is the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, they did make a couple of deals, and they got rid of a couple of guys, but, you still have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine on that roster, and it's like, what are you doing? Come on, butthead, hello.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
They want to be the 2022 Chicago Bulls, obviously. That worked out really well for them.
Because they were so good.
Yeah, they were really, really good. Don't forget that. I think it's pretty obvious Sacramento is one of the worst franchises in the league. Quick aside before I get to my other question. Is it the rebounding with Jaren Jackson Jr.? Is that why you don't like him?
That's part of it. I don't know. I mean, he's a good player, and I don't think it's fair to say that I don't like him. He is a good player.
He is.
Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year, really good defensive player. I don't trust his outside shot. I just don't think he's the star that you build around that a lot of people do. I just think he's a good player.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. So it's interesting now. A lot of the teams you talked about, it's funny, right below the Blazers in the standings. The Grizzlies right below them. Utah a couple spots below. I don't think Utah's, like you're saying, they're clearly not just tearing it down, but they're not close enough to get in the play-in conversation, in my opinion. Right. The Clippers, I think that they're probably going to be worse now. I think it might have been fairly even with just a Garland for Harden swap, but the Zubac move is clearly saying
I don't get that one.
Yeah, that one's interesting. They did get a lot from the Pacers, though. The Pacers, possibly could be getting them a pick between 6 and 9. So for this season, and if not, it'll be a 2031. But I'm just curious now. We kind of talked about this before, but now even the Warriors made a move for Porzingis, who may or may not play a lot for them depending on his injury situation. But has this sort of cemented the Blazers in the play-in for sure? And how do you feel about those matchups? Because those are the teams that the Blazers are probably going to play, and I feel like they have a decent chance of coming out of that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that it cements the Blazers, but it certainly puts them in a position where if they do their job, they'll be in, right? And, Scoot's supposed to come back pretty soon, like we talked about. Hopefully Denny after the All-Star break, if not before then, will be his self. They'll, figure things out. And I think that, the last 25 games of the season or so, I think they're going to be in a good spot. So I think they will have opportunities there. And, who knows, right? They move up those standings a little bit. But you look at the teams in the West that they could be playing in that play. And if they're in that 9-10 range, it's probably going to be the Clippers. It'd be much better to have that game at home, but yeah, they'd have a great chance to win that game. Golden State, they've already shown they can beat them.
Right.
The Warriors didn't really give up anything of note because they weren't playing Kuminga, and Buddy Hield hasn't really played this year. So they add Porzingis, and he'll go in and start when he's healthy immediately for them. He's really versatile, and I think that's a good move for them. But that's an aging team that has a lot of health concerns. Phoenix is also in there. Yeah, I think there's absolutely an opportunity for the Blazers to do something. And if they get into the play-in, even if it's at the 9 or 10 spot, I do think they can win 2 games and get into the playoffs. But it really depends on them, how healthy they are, if they can continue that health, and if they can start clicking with all those guys coming back, because you're going to be in a situation here real soon where guys who have been playing big minutes for you aren't going to be for one reason or another. And they've got to figure out what the best lineups are and who plays the best together. And that'll be a challenge, because I don't think there's a huge delineation between, guys 4, 5, and 6 and guys 10, 11, and 12 on the roster right now. That's a good thing to have. It means you have depth, but you want to have, some guys that have separated themselves to be able to play. And I don't think that's had an opportunity to happen yet.
Travis Demers, you can follow him at Travis Demers wherever you have your social media. He's also the co-host of the Section 113 podcast. You can subscribe to that. And he is the voice of the Trailblazers, the mayor of Rip City, joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. So, Travis, is it more injury or chemistry that's been part of the problem in these last 6 games for the Blazers? As they've been on a slide, they got themselves above 500, then all of a sudden, wow, and a couple of just puzzling losses in this stretch. So your assessment?
My answer to your 2-part question is yes, because when you don't have your best player, you're not going to be the same team, right? But then when you're bringing guys back who haven't played a whole lot and you're trying to integrate them into a group of players who have had chemistry now for 30 games or so, there are going to be some adjustments, and Justin brought that up last week. That's going to happen, right? So also players who have gotten used to, like Caleb Love, right? Caleb Love's got used to playing a boatload of minutes at 21 points against Cleveland. Next game comes back against Phoenix. He plays 8 minutes off the bench and goes 0 for 2 and doesn't score. Well, if he didn't all of a sudden just forget how to shoot threes,
right?
He is in a different role and in a different flow, and it's something that's an adjustment. So, when roles change, you ask role players to play starter minutes, and they have to adjust to that. And then you ask them to play role player minutes again, especially for a rookie who doesn't have a massive sample size of either. There are going to be some things in there that have to figure themselves out. And then Blake Wesley coming back into the lineup. Vit Krejci doesn't know where to be on this team yet. And watching his spacing, going to the corner when Toumani Camara was already there, it's not because either one of them are not smart basketball players. It's because they haven't played with each other yet. And those are all things that have to, get worked out. And when you've had injuries, when Denny is out, when Scoot comes back, there's going to be some similar things there too. So I think it's all of the above.
Memphis comes into town. They'll be at the Moda Center tomorrow night. It'll be at 7 p.m., and Travis will be on the call right here on one of the Blazer audio networks, Fox Sports Eugene. So, Travis, next road trip is going to be where now? Help me out.
Quick. So we have 3 more games in this homestand, Memphis, Philly, and then a quick 2-game back-to-back trip right before the All-Star break at Minnesota, at Utah, and then the All-Star break. So, 5 more games before the All-Star break, quick trip in some cold weather places because we haven't had enough of that in the last couple of weeks, and then we get to chill for a while.
All right, so you can watch a couple of seasons of it now, Hijack.
Yes,
Hijack.
I was trying to tell you guys about this.
We watched it. Apple TV. Is it Apple? It's Apple,
yes,
right?
It's Apple.
Apple
yes.
TV. Okay, Hijack.
Yeah, is this the one that I said I didn't want to watch on the plane?
You probably don't want to watch it on the plane.
No,
the
you
first season,
absolutely want to watch it on a
The first
plane.
season is about a hijack of a plane.
Yeah, no, I already hate flying and assume I'm going to die every time the plane takes off, so I don't need to add any fuel to that fire. So I will watch that in the comfort of my home.
All right, so here's the thing. Then I will give you one other that has nothing to do with planes. I don't know if you like Jennifer Garner or not, but here it is. The last thing you said to me. First season is dropped. They've renewed it for a second season. It has a very interesting twist in the middle. And at the first season's totally dropped. And that is Netflix. Okay?
Which show?
The last thing you said to me. Sorry, that's the name of the
That's
show.
the name of who's on first?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Okay. The last thing. Okay, what does that have to do with the last thing I said to you? I assume I'm going to die in a plane. Okay, where are we going? That's
Travis
the name
was trying
of
to
the
think.
show. God,
That's
okay.
the name of the
Total sense.
show.
Travis was like, "What did I say to him last? I don't know."
God. This is great radio. This is why we love having you on, Travis. The last thing you said to me is the name of the show. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
It is. It's about. Well, I'm not gonna. I can't even give away even part of it because the first episode is kind of like it really smacks you in the face. It's pretty awesome.
Like it's just by the name of the title, it sounds like somebody who died and somebody who's thinking about the last thing that was said to them. Man, I don't know, but that's what it sounds like.
Okay, maybe. All right, buddy.
Maybe not, or they were kidnapped or abducted by aliens or something.
I am not giving anything away. Just watch it. You can watch Hijack at home. Don't watch it with your kids, though. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. They don't need to be thinking about that either.
No, not at all. All right, bud. Have a great call. Always love having you on. Stay safe. Try and get some rest tonight, all right?
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he goes. The great Travis Demers, voice of the Blazers. Come back on a weekend eve, wrap up the show. Still a lot to talk about, but, I'm not going to say we're going to have it in any particular order because that's not the way we do things here. We can talk more shows. I mean, I know you said Hijack, but we actually have several more that we're going to throw out there, and I want to talk to you. Maybe we'll throw that into the last part of the program as we continue here. Danny and Justin for a Thursday.